Hello everyone and welcome to this live stream. We are today with Hans de Kuyper, CEO of the AG Insurance company. AG Insurance is the leading insurance company in Belgium. Hans de Kuyper, hello, and thank you very much for having us here in Brussels. Before we get started, I'd like to know what are the vision of your company?
Well, first let me also welcome, I think, the students today. For a lot of you it must be exam period, so I wish you lots of success the coming days and weeks, and of course I hope you all succeed. Well, AG Insurance vision is, in one sentence, make sure that all Belgians can live their life to the fullest. But behind that sentence there is a lot of transition and change going on, that's what the head of marketing told me recently, is that we have always been the mattress. We were there when it goes wrong, yeah? But that doesn't give a lot of customer interaction, because luckily it doesn't go wrong that often. What we want to go is from the mattress to the trampoline and say, look, can we not do more? And then I'm talking about not only insurance but prevention, preparing, assistance, with a lot more frequent customer interaction, so that everybody can live their life to the fullest. So that's, in one sentence, the vision where the company wants to go to the coming years.
Okay, let's start with the questions, otherwise we might miss some time. So the first question is asked by Nicolas from Solvay, who's wondering what are the projects for AG Insurance in the current context of digitalization?
Well, that's already a great question, because digitalization is one of the most important themes. But when we talk about digitalization, we easily jump to the word that we have launched ourselves, which we call phygital. The combination between the physical presence of our distribution partners. We work with distribution partners, mainly independent brokers, banking partners like BNP Paribas Fortis and Bank of the Post. And we want to combine that phygital proximity and customer relationship with digital tools. And the new digitalization area that has started is giving us a lot more opportunities to combine different communication channels towards one customer. So we are not a believer that digitalization will tomorrow replace our market or fully replace the broker or the banking agency. But it can definitely help him to build more services, to provide more customer interactions, and actually to redefine, to reinvent the customer journeys of the future. Because we all know, historically, insurance companies were not known for the most excellent service. Yeah.
What would be an example of digital project that you could achieve here?
Well, I take one example where we now use a video expertise when we are assessing a quite standard home insurance claim. So that means we don't need to send the expert anymore, but with the smartphone of the customer, we can see the images live here and we can immediately assess the damage, make a proposal, and even settle the claim. So settling a claim from a few days might become a few minutes, maximally a few hours. That's just one of the examples. Of course, we are building websites, we are building apps. We are also working, for instance, in the car repair, where people can choose on a map the repair shop where they want to go to. They can also score, they can rate. That's something we have learned from the Airbnbs and the Ubers of this world. So we are integrating a lot of digital components, electronic signature, mobile payment, mobile identification, you name it. We are integrating all this in our servicing model today.
So digitalization might be a tool and not an enemy at all?
No, we see it as a tool. Where a few years ago everybody says fintech and insurtech is going to be your great enemy, they're going to take your market. Well, until today, and I'm not saying that it's not happening, but until today we see that most of those new opportunities, those new technologies can strengthen our model, so it is more about partnering with them than going in competition with them. Yeah.
So we are touching wood?
Yeah, we are very convinced about that strategy. Yeah.
So the next question is from Mélanie from École Polytechnique de Bruxelles, who's asking you if you think artificial intelligence has its place in the sector of insurance.
Well, Melanie, yes, it definitely has. And I think that's a technology where we are only in the early days in insurance. What we see now, we're also working on, for instance, indexing documents. Can we not organize the flow of documents? We are an organization which is already fully paperless. In this building you will not see papers on the desks. But now we're also looking, can artificial intelligence actually help us also to read the documents? Yeah? And reading the documents means sending it directly to the right division, which is today still done by our employees. Secondly, maybe also take the key information of the documents and add that to our applications so that our staff can focus on their expertise and immediately settling the claim, underwriting the risk, and not being too much occupied with repetitive administrative tasks. Second phase, I think, is coming up, and that's more artificial intelligence in the core of what we do. Can artificial intelligence help us in underwriting? Can it help us in pricing the risk, settling a claim? Think what actuaries did. Actuaries, what did they do? They looked at the history of a claim. They write an underwriting manual. They make rules out of the history, defining an underwriting manual so that the underwriters can assess a new risk. The underwriting manual is there because honestly the human brain is not big enough to look at the whole history of data for every new case. Maybe in the future we don't need underwriting manuals anymore and we can assess a risk by mapping it with the full history of our data, better price, better assess the risk, and also maybe getting a better cover for our customers.
So I guess you're working on it now. For when would it be possible?
It's hard to say. I think the first part, what I mentioned, indexing the documents, I think we will be there mostly by the end of this year, early next year. So that the documents come in, so they are already fully scanned, and then we say, okay, it will go straight to the right division. The coding, getting out the information into the systems, I would say give it another 12 to 18 months. The last one that they can help us to strengthen, for instance, the underwriting, it's hard to say. The data insights, because that's what you need, the data insights is something which is developing fast, but it will be a learning curve. So it will be a continuous process that, honestly, I believe will never be finished. It will be something that is continuing all the time, adjusting all the time, improving all the time. With one important key question is, how far can you go in individualizing the risks? Because our business is solidarizing the risk. If you go in that much detail that it becomes individual, well, then you're not insuring anymore.
So artificial intelligence, yes, but then not too far.
Not too far, and of course you also have privacy regulation. There is a lot of other elements coming into that game that we really need to take into account.
Okay, let's head to the third question, which is asked by Bart from KU Leuven, who wonders why you created the application Younger by AG Insurance based on the savings of your customers' children.
Yeah. Well, Bart, interesting to see that you already discovered Yongo, so that supports us in our marketing campaign. That's great. No, Yongo, I think there are different reasons. The first reason is the market. We have seen that the market for children to learn, to save, to invest, to spend is a market that is not really served today. Not by the banks, not by the insurance companies. We have these old traditional savings plans for kids. When they marry, they can get a lump sum to do their first investments. But this is, let me put it, a boring business. The parents pay a premium every month, every year, and at 25 you touch a big amount of money. In between, most of the time the kid is not even aware. That product has become obsolete. It is not satisfying customer expectations anymore. So we have taken another approach and we have taken the product from the viewpoint of the child. So this is about learn, save, grow. And we have added elements of social media, element of digitalization. That means you have a tablet application, you have a mobile application. The child can invite friends, parents, grandparents to contribute for that present that he would love to have for his birthday or for his Christmas Eve. He can invite them, they can contribute, and the parents, with the application, which is very child-friendly, can help the kid to divide between spending for that present, saving for the short term, or even maybe investing for the longer term. So there is a high educational element in there. At the end of the day, and that's a buzzword in our sector today, we are evolving to the ecosystem around the money, the saving of the child. And this was the first experiment to develop that ecosystem, and actually we hope, and I think most of our customers would not immediately see this as an insurance product. They see it as a learn, save, grow platform.
And how would you explain to the rest of the students who don't know Yongo how it works?
Well, Yongo is an application that you can just download online. First subscription, of course, has to be by the parent. So the parent has to set up the account, which is a very easy approach now, but we have learned a lot because setting a business on the internet is also not that easy. It's completely different to what we used to do. Parents can subscribe in a fairly easy way, and then the kid can start, depending on his age of course, but he can start managing first his network. He can ask the grandparents to become a member of his platform, his friends, and then he can, for instance, take a picture of the bike that he would love to have, and he can say, look, when you're coming to my party, please contribute to my bike. And so once he has achieved, he can ask the parents to cash the money, go and buy the bike, or he can also agree to say, look, this money I actually would like to save for when I'm 25 years old or when I finish my study. So the whole learning element behind there is important. And of course what we see is where we had a customer contact once a year to just collect that premium, we now are having contacts on a daily basis. And the child and the parents are feeling our service and our products weekly, monthly, and not anymore once a year.
And how old should be the child?
Well, you can actually do from, I would say, -9 months till, well, subscription ideally, I would say 15 to 16 years old. And of course the plan runs till the age of 25. Actually, the underlying product has not changed. But the way that we bring the product to the customer has been completely reinvented.
It's a whole digital experience.
It's a digital ecosystem around the savings of the child. That's the best way to describe it.
Okay. Our fourth question is from Julian from LSM, who's wondering how you chose the investments you bet on. She also had another question, which I will ask you after.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can tell you we are not betting with our investments. Our investments, I think, is a very well planned and disciplined process. We are a life insurance company. In terms of assets, we are predominantly a life insurance company, and non-life will generate a lot less assets. We have a balance sheet of approximately 70 billion euros, and a lot of those liabilities are very long-term. Pension liabilities. That means it could easily be 20, 30, up to 40 years that we are managing those assets for our customers. So the first thing is we want to control and to manage the risk, what we call the asset liability matching with the fixed income portfolio. So that's why you see that roughly between 17 to 80% of our investments are still fixed income. 58% today is government bonds. We are still one of the biggest holder of government debt in Belgium. And then another 20% roughly today are corporate bonds. On that, we add some investments in equities, but not that much. Loans, we have roughly 15 to 20% in loans. Real estate, 8 to 9%. Even parkings, Interparking, you might not expect it, but Interparking in Belgium is a subsidiary of AG. And recently, the last few years, we have also built a portfolio of roughly 1.5 billion in infrastructure. Schools, highways, railroads, and so on. And how do we do this? And that's more for the technical-oriented students among us. So every 2 years we do what we call a statistical exercise, and that gives us the strategic asset allocation. It's a statistical exercise that looks for the optimum between the return, the risk, the volatility, and the capital that we need to hold for that type of investment. And then the model gives us, so to speak, the ideal asset mix. With that target asset allocation, we build some area around the target asset allocations, which are the boundaries, a minimum, and a maximum. So the investment division is acting freely within those boundaries because they look at the timing, they look at the stock picking, or they pick the right bonds, or they do the right investments at the right moment of time. That's completely their authority, but they have to stay within those boundaries. So it is not betting, it is a well-planned process.
And Julian had another question concerning real estate.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest investments apparently of your company. Why is it the case?
Yeah, we are one of the leading real estate investors in Belgium. Well, same reasoning. When we look at, so we see real estate equities in more or less the same basket. But what we see is that the capital we need to hold for a real estate investment compared to the risk and the return is a better mix than pure equities. And so that's why we are only 2.5, 3% in equities and up to 8, 9% in real estate. And within that real estate, we diversify again, because diversification is also the name of the game. And we diversify between retail, residential, offices, warehousing now, and we see more and more online internet sales, so we also invest in warehousing, infrastructure, parkings, and so on.
Okay. Now move on to the fifth question, which is asked by Daniel from Ishek, who's asking you if you saw yourself as a CEO when you began your career.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, no, not at all. It's a question you get often, and I think many CEOs get that question. I never believed it is the right question to ask. No, not at all. I have never been driven by status, promotion, or your level in the hierarchy. No, it has never interested me. What I have learned over the years that keeps me ticking is the eagerness to learn. In everything I do, I always want to learn something new, broaden my horizon, and learning in a big sense, not only about the techniques of insurance, but it can also be about managing, coaching, leading
or
people.
Simply human values.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly, it's all that, and not even only professionally. One of the key drivers I have is it doesn't matter too much what you do and at what level you do, but whatever you do, always try to be the best in what you do, or one of the best. It's not a competition either, but always try to be one of the best. And I always compare it whether you are a great CEO or you're a great plumber who is doing his job very, very well. Well, first of all, he will also earn a nice living, but he also will be a lot more happy, and he will not have too much stress. In my early days of my career, somebody told me, and I never forget, he says, the worst thing that can happen to you in your career is being promoted to your level of incompetence. And that's what you should avoid. So when you're young, don't be overambitious in the beginning. Build your foundation, and on every foundation that you have, try to be the best in that discipline. The rest will come.
Maybe tell us how you became a CEO.
Well, how did I become a CEO? Well, I've been different roles. I at a very young age, actually, I took a fairly senior position in another competitor insurance company in Belgium. Very exciting. And all of a sudden in 2004, from this company, I was invited to go to Asia. There was nothing. There was no division. I had no staff in Belgium by then. There was roughly, I think, in the division I was running 300-400 FTEs working. Asia, there was nothing. But after a long consideration, I accepted it. Why? Because it was a new great opportunity to learn. Yeah? And it is that learning that have driven me, but it's also that learning that not that long after they asked me to go in the executive committee of one of those operations in Asia. So within Asia I moved from Hong Kong to Malaysia, became for the first time a member of an executive committee in Malaysia, first as a CFO, and after a few years they asked me to replace the CEO, which I did for another 2 to 3 years, came back here, became the CFO of AG. So there are also a lot of people said, yeah, but what are you doing? I mean, the exciting Asian market's a CEO position. You go back to the boring Belgian market as a CFO position. First of all, I've learned very rapidly that Belgium and the insurance market at the moment is far from boring. It's a very exciting market at the moment. And you see 2 years later I was asked again to take over the CEO role of this company. So those things happen in life, and I don't think there will be two CEOs who have the same track record.
So your advice would be, do not plan anything, but be the best.
Well, I would say do not plan too much. First, definitely do not work for it. Work for what you are doing today. And try to find the joy, but also the learning and the quality of your work in what you are doing today. And then see how it happens, because the rest will come. You will be noted. They will appreciate what you do, and the rest will come. And that will not be CEO for everybody. But honestly, I don't think that matters too much.
So proceeding on the subject of leadership, Stephanie from Vlerik asked, so we were talking about your position in Asia. You've been the director in the insurance management department of Ageas. What are the major changes between that post and the one you are currently in on the Belgian national level?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Vlerik. I'm also an alumni of Vlerik. I went to Vlerik after my first university degree. I worked for 10 years and then went back to Vlerik while combining with my job in an MBA for the financial services. And it's also Vlerik who actually was one of the key elements in my decision to go to Asia, because that's when I first saw the international business world. And in that MBA course, I was also the only Belgian participating. So I came immediately in an international community. So during that MBA, I decided to make the move. And looking backwards now, you cannot compare. I went to Asia. Why? Because we are setting a business there in a joint venture. I went to a regional office where the operations are in the other countries, and Asia is big. And in all those countries we had a minority position. So it's not the easiest job to start getting an influence on those operations. So that means it was a lot more short-term focus, bringing expertise, because that's why you're there. They are asking you to bring in the expertise so that they can develop the market and they can develop the company. You can also, in that culture, I have learned, not let go too easily. Because I was presiding some of the meetings, and I noticed that there was not a lot of interaction. And all of a sudden people go. So I was even wondering myself, but what did we actually decide here today? And then you see they start implementing all kinds of things that I have said. Because what I have said, they assumed it as the holy truth.
Okay.
So that means you need a lot of monitoring, fine-tuning, because honestly I do not always have the holy truth, and most of the time I don't. It's the combination of all the different views that gives the quality of the decision making. So but you didn't have that there. So short term, a lot of focus, monitoring, fine-tuning. When I came back to Belgium, I came here in a company with now more than 180 years of expertise in the insurance business in Belgium. So that means there is tons of expertise in this organization, and you are almost pushed forward by the expertise there is. So if you then go micromanaging like in Asia, you are annoying people. Yeah? Because on their specific area, they know potentially technically a lot more than I do, because they are specialists in that area every day. So here my role is more like, can we set the long-term vision? Can we more look around, maybe not so much inside, but can I more look around what is going on, what is happening in the world? And today a lot is happening in our world. So how should we position ourselves? Can I provide that vision? Can I communicate that vision? And then what I call, can I be the glue in implementing that vision? That means make sure that people understand each other, that they work together, and that we finally all keep on track towards that vision and that ambition. So yeah, the rules, the two companies, the two regions, honestly, you cannot compare.
I'm just hurrying up because we have only 4 minutes left.
Yep.
To our last question then, which is asked by Sarah from Solvay, who's asking you what's the importance of societal responsibility at AG Insurance?
But that's also something at the cover, and I like it a lot. As societal, when I came into business, was not very hot for a young student coming into business. Now I see most of our new recruits are asking about our view on the sustainable development, society and so on. Well, first of all, the core business that we do has already a huge societal impact. Because what we do is we provide peace of mind. And with that peace of mind, people can freely consume, save and invest. And I can compare with Asia, where the insurance markets are not that developed. So there are very high saving ratios because people, they don't have the social security system. They don't have the pension planning like we are having today, or they cannot protect their assets. So they are a lot more limited in living their life to the fullest because the mechanism is not fully developed, the market is not fully developed. So the core what we do, I think, has already a huge societal impact. Then we have 70 billion assets under management, which we invest. We invest more than half of them in government debt. The government allows them to build all the other infrastructures, the roads, the hospitals, the schools, and so on. So also in our investments, we have a big role in the Belgian society. And then last but not least, it's the Scholen van Morgen, one example. We have been building 200 schools in Flanders with the pension, not with our money, but with our pension holders' money. So what we do is with the pension savings of the grandparents, we use that to invest in building 200 schools for the grandchildren. So that, I think, is a great economic model and has a big societal impact. And the last, but for me it's very important, but it's not the core, is the CSR, which we also do. And that's where we just provide money, but we also provide hands. Our employees go in and help a lot. And that's then really, I would say, our social responsibility on the field, where our teams we focus in is helping lonely mothers and unfortunate children in Belgium. But for me, everything what we do, if we do it well, has a big societal impact.
But you do invest a lot on young generations.
Yes, of course, young generations is also our future, and we see that still there is still a big group of unfortunate children who do not have the future like I, for instance, have been able to enjoy all this year. So yes, and there we are providing money, support, and so like with all employees, for instance, on one Saturday we go and paint a school or an orphanage house. That's what we also do, yeah.
So that was our last question, but before we leave, Hans de Kuyper has something to tell you.
Well, I'm very happy to offer you also a challenge. I explained in the introduction a little bit the transition that we are making from insurance to a bigger ecosystem, from protecting to live your life to the fullest, or from the mattress to the trampoline. Well, I invite you to have a look at the businesses we do, all the areas we are working in, and come up with one great idea where you say, look, here I can change that, between brackets, boring insurance product into something bigger, so that in that ecosystem around that product, people are able to live their life to the fullest. Do it briefly, so please do it in an elevator pitch. So try to convince me in, I would say, maximum 1 to 2 minutes elevator pitch. The best one will be selected and will be invited here or wherever I am, because you will be able to follow me during my visit meetings that I have for a full day. So I wish you a good luck with the challenge.
That's it for today. Thanks you very much again for having us here, and be creative. Good luck with your exams, and see you next time.